pretty much killed itself. Was in pain. Like I said, I couldn't really get out of bed. I couldn't, pick up my 2-year-old daughter. I couldn't do it.
Wow, if you could pick up your 2-year-old daughter, that this was serious, that you had is it something like this, and it really could have jeopardized you more so than losing the match almost.
Yeah, I could have, but it took for me it took forever just to heal in my lower back. Like I thought it was like a month, but it was only like a few weeks.
Well, with 3 weeks now since the match, so obviously you would feel now close to full strength.
Yeah, I'd say I'm like at a good 85% right now.
Okay.
So yeah. Could I do this match again all over? Probably not at the moment.
So no triple threat matches anytime soon.
Unless CT really wants me to. I'm not going to argue with him, but I'd like to avoid that for the moment.
Well, I'm sure ET is listening to this, and actually, I'll let Zilla ask you a question, which I was going to ask you, but since we're watching the match and we're still a few minutes away from the outcome of it, we'll come back to certainly some of it. She'd like to know, how does it feel to be the UWA World Champion? What was your favorite match in your entire career? How long have you been wrestling? I think 3 years, right? We've been in UWA. Is that correct? 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? 3 years. So I answered that, but what does it mean to you then to be the world champion? And do you have a favorite match in your career so far?
I mean, to be UWA World Champion to me feels pretty damn good. I mean, I'm glad I had faith in myself to be world champion, especially the first time when I had to face Joe Anderson. I don't think a lot of people expected me to walk out with the win on that one.
And Joe Anderson at that time had been coming off a reign as a TBW world champion. Joe Anderson's a guy who's, one of their tougher wrestlers. I mean, Joe Anderson, the Grim Reaper. I mean, he's no picnic. I mean, a lot of guys in this sport that would have a real hard time of, dislodging Joe Anderson. So that's, it's a good point.
Joe was definitely not a walk in the park. It wasn't going to be no damn cakewalk either. My ribs were sore after that one for sure.
Well, that's Joe's specialty, Joe. We'll certainly ask, Mr. Titan about that. He'll tell you those same things. But there's no question that, Joe Anderson is a tough out anybody. Do you have a favorite match in your career?
Yeah. I'm still gonna say, despite the outcome, wasn't what I wanted. Me and Jake at FD1.
And that's the biggest in terms of viewership. That's the biggest show in the company's history.
Yeah, it's funny. We had we had months of preparation for that match. So we were pretty happy with how it actually turned out, but obviously the outcome, I was like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And then Jared with his short ass whatever hair that was.
Well, I'm not going to talk about anybody's hair considering mine, but
it is what it is. And then Law obviously being there, and then the shocking reveal there.
So, I'm not going to ask you about much of him either, because that's obviously it's a different time and a different life. I have a question on Twitter. One of our followers, Miss Angela Pink, who wanted me to talk to her. I can talk to her here on the chat. She wanted to say a couple things for us. She says, looking at you on the screen, her first words are OMG with exclamation points. Which is pretty much, that's a good point. She doesn't like hair talk because my hair is longer than pretty much everybody out there. But she had a good question, though, which I'd like to maybe kind of put out for the audience. How much training do you do in advance to compete to retain your championship? I mean, like, what does the average training session, which kind of piggies back off to a D Savage, what do you do to train to prepare yourself for matches like this?
Well, first I have to mentally train myself to, before any match, be like, I'm going to be all right. Everything's going to go well. Obviously in wrestling, that's never the case. Training, I usually, I train more than I would want to.
Why do you say that? I mean, every guys come on this platform. I don't train enough, right? You need to train as much as humanly possible. Why would you say something like that? I'm curious for the audience.
I really just don't train enough. Like people have said before, I really don't. I'm just like, okay, I have an idea what to do. I'm gonna go out here and do it. And then most of the time it worked. And then against Jake, that did not really work out. Like here, I just said, "Fuck it, here, Slade. You thirsty? You
Well, that
bitch."
was clever. I mean, I've seen that before in spots and matches, but it was kind of clever. I mean, I'm sure maybe deep down he appreciated the water because I'm sure it
Oh,
helped.
he did. But did you
At
notice?
least it was better than what happened in Chase Sullivan's match. It was a lot better than that certainly outcome. I'm not even going to bring up with ET there and the dog food and, and the Mountain Dew. I mean, not going to go there. Not going to certainly bring that up. And
Please tell me you noticed in that moment the bottle cap from the water was actually on Slade's head for like a moment.
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
it
did.
was pretty funny after when I watched it back.
Well, I mean, maybe that was your kind of way of, telling him that he's been certainly giving the mafia too much problems. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was just your own way of telling him push back. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the mafia has a lot of problems as a whole. Still trying to find Cerberus. Slade acting different, and then for some reason, Pogo the clown has a problem with us. We have a lot of issues right now that I want to get resolved.
There's a lot of questions, no question about it. But let me ask you a different question. Tell me your thoughts. And I want to go back to Dalton Skull for a second. And we see Dalton here, and Dalton's obviously a well traveled competitor in different places and such, but obviously it's well documented about his injury. I'm not going to go into details about the injury, but in terms of him as a competitor and a performer coming back the way he has from that injury, what do you think that says about Dalton Skull?
Well, he's definitely a tough son of a bitch, that's for sure. I mean, yeah, I seen he sent me the X-ray of his collarbone, and
We played what happened here live. He actually said, I want the footage to be shown. We showed what happened, and it was really like, I don't know why this guy is still in the ring.
okay, I wasn't there when that happened. I had to work that day, unfortunately.
Maybe that was a good thing from your vantage point.
And maybe I don't know. I didn't have to work, and then Jake calls me and he's like, "Yeah, Dalton actually wanted to finish the match in the ambulance." I was like, "What the fuck? Like, why?"
Well, this is a big debate. Some wrestlers, this comes up a lot. Some wrestlers say, well, if you're injured, you just stop the match. Some people feel Triple H years ago was injured, and I think he tore his leg and nearly almost lost his leg. And there was a spot in a match years ago. I think it was him and Stone Cold against the Hardys, if I'm not mistaken, or one of these matches. Somebody will fact check me on. And he still wound up finishing the match. I think he wound up touring like an ACL, and he still finished the match. He hobbled along, and there are some wrestlers, Stone Cold got power driven by Owen Hart, God rest his soul, Owen Hart, and somehow found a way to roll him up and win the match. The power driver went wrong. I mean, we see things that happen, but Dalton is one of those guys that falls in the line. He even said it last week on the show. He's an old school yarder. His mentality is an old school yarder, and you're seeing a lot of this here between the three of you guys. I mean, I don't even know how you guys could withstand all this punishment and keep going, but you're the champion. You have to keep going. And we see Sammy Slade for whatever reason. I don't know if he's doing his old Joe Anderson attempt, but then he comes back. You get back up, and now we see you guys kind of trading shots more or less.
Yeah, I thought Slade at that moment was having a seizure or something. I looked over at him. That was my first initial thought, and then he hit me. I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe he's actually not having a seizure." And
Maybe
then
he was trying to one up you almost.
he tried, but clearly failed. But no, I respect Slade as a competitor, but as a brother, I just don't know where he's at. And
Can you trust him? Can you trust him if he were to even? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, the future of all things. Check into the Underground Wrestling Alliance's YouTube page. But I mean, would you even trust him or want him back in the Mafia?
do I trust him?
Do you trust him? Do you trust
After
him?
all the shit he put us through, do I trust him?
Yep. Do you trust
Not
him?
really.
And
Not
how do you think the rest of the Mafia feels about that?
probably, if I had to guess, probably the same way. Like, I'm not gonna come on here and say, Slade's out of the mafia. I'm not gonna do that. But I do want to try to talk to him, or at least him talk to me, so we can.
But you've been trying, though. I mean, he, and
I've
you have
tried.
been back and forth, and you've been very, I think, very unlike you in terms of just how you've went about this whole process. And he seems almost like he doesn't want to hear it. And yet you, on the other hand, continue to almost give him more rope than he should.
Yeah, I've tried to get hold of him, but it's either he doesn't respond or something else. I mean, I've asked Jake to get a hold of him. Nothing happens. Dalton, nothing happens. Mercer, nothing happens. I don't know. Does he I wonder if he just sits in a corner, in a dark corner, just thinking about his life or something, or about his actions. Because I'm hoping one day he'll realize.
Was it when you guys played Mario Kart once upon a time? What was it that you think that has kind of led to this? Now, I'm curious. It's a serious question. It's a serious question because this hasn't been going on just for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been going on for months.
Yeah, it's been going. This has really been the storyline of 2024 in the UWA. This has been the storyline in a way that's kind of, to quote a previous show in UWA, has kind of frozen the mafia.
Yeah. Actually, I think it all started last year whenever I won the world title again. Because I've noticed when I go back and I rewatch our episodes, he just stares at the world title constantly. I think that's where it all came from. When he just kept staring. I called
Well,
him
I
out.
mean, listen, you have a prize, right? It doesn't matter what fed you're in. It doesn't matter what company you're at. You're a world champion.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter if you're a brother with somebody. It doesn't matter if you're a tag team partner with somebody, a stable faction you're in with somebody. You want that prize. This is the prize that everybody achieves and wants. At the end of
yeah,
the day, if you're not in this sport to be a top draw, to be a champion, what are you in it for? You know it better than anybody. This is a dog eat dog world. This is a dog eat dog business, and especially in the UWA, it's dog eat dog. So, at the end of the day, I mean, we see here you've won the championship, but really at what cost? At what cost did you retain this? And you can see it here. You were like almost like you didn't want this. You knew that you didn't want this, and yet you've got it. And now you've got a mafia that you have to figure, how are you going to put this back together? And you could see Jake coming out and, Dalton and poor Dalton. We already kind of went through that. And Dalton was here last week and spoke about that. And, we see Mercer. And I mean, this is just like, Mercer rather wishes he was at the Reds game for all we know. But I mean, unfortunately, that was kind of a funny one. But the point is that, I mean, this is really for what you guys are fractured. I mean, this is just insane. And we see Sammy. We're about to see it here in the audience. And we thank everybody for tuning in. We're live now on the Promo Wrestling Federation page, the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page. And we also have a whole list of people that just joined us on X. So thank you so much for your support. But I mean, you're not a victorious champion right now. You're not celebrating winning the biggest show of the year in the UWA. You're not celebrating that you're 1 year as a champion about to be. None of that. None of it.
no, nope. I was definitely not celebrating after this one.
Well, we could
And
certainly see that. Yeah.
it definitely pains me to have to do that, especially to Dalton, who did
Well,
not.
Dalton, everybody loves Dalton. I continue to say it. Dalton is almost like Dalton could win the Nobel Peace Prize. Dalton is so beloved that he could obviously run for president or vice president in the Yard and the Underground. He would win.
Yeah,
And now we see Dalton now, and it's almost like you're got a spackler and trying to pull him out of the
yeah,
frying pan almost. Yeah,
he
just
was definitely out of it for sure.
well, he's
Definitely.
definitely out of it, and we wonder what will be of him here in the UWA. And we see Dalton, and thank God for JD Mercer. I don't know why he's not wearing a red shirt, but that's a different conversation. He's probably going to kill me for this, but and I could see it though. You're as remorseful as any champ I've seen. Is that maybe eating at you? I mean, this is not a champion that we're used to seeing from you, CJ.
I mean, Kinda, not really. I've definitely changed since before or when I came back for sure. Because back then I just
Have
didn't
you
care.
become more human?
Yeah, like I just didn't care about people's feelings, about what people said about me. I didn't care, and then I come back because Jared and Jake found me, and I just, for some reason, I just started caring more. I don't know.
Why?
That's the thing. I still don't know why. It's like I
Is that a
have a whole different outlook on everything.
is that a flaw on your part?
I mean, I wouldn't say a flaw. I just don't know what it is. I mean, because right now I'm trying to just tell Slade, like, look, this wasn't worth it for a world title.
And we
And
see it now. I mean, everybody's waiting for you to embrace the group, and
yeah,
he wants none of it.
yeah. I mean, I know Slade it wasn't pinned, but at the same time, it didn't have to come to that by any means.
And it did. It's the biggest storyline right now going in the UWA. And, Dalton Skull, poor Dalton Skull, is some birthday.
But yeah,
But
but to keep it up for months though, at a time, to keep that attitude up towards me, Jake, Dalton, Mercer, for what? I mean,
do you
yeah,
think it
sure,
was all an act?
I don't know. Like, I understand it's the world title. Everybody wants to be world champion. I respect that,
I
but
said it. Listen, it's the prize that everybody, doesn't matter who you are, where you wrestle for, you want to be a world champion.
yeah, but this is the second time he's failed, and what's next for him? I'm just gonna keep doing my own thing. Dalton, it pains me to watch this ending part with him just laying there.
I know. I know.
It kills me on the inside.
It's been a tough last couple of weeks for Dalton. We see it in his own fed. He's going through some issues. He was in TBW. We saw it there under a different thing. I mean, he's really, it's Dalton's obviously trying to figure out where to go from here. It's, we certainly hope for Dalton's aspect of it. And obviously the show ended, and that's obviously we're waiting for more on all things to come, UWA. And if you'd like to follow also CJ and all things related to him, I'm going to take this off the screen first. And I don't know why I can't. There we go. Now we can bring it back on the screen. You can do that here very simply, very easy. Yes, I agree, Zilla, for a change. It is poor Dalton Skull, but Dalton's going to have to figure things out. But that is CJ's Instagram page. You can check him out here. And that is obviously some of the accomplishments he's had. Very simple, straight and to the point. And you can follow him right here on his Instagram handle. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Now it's pulling up. But he is the current UWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's also been a Southern champion, current Best in the Yard champion. And there he is, simple, straight to the point. He doesn't post often because he just wants you to follow and join the conversation with him. So that's his information. Let me get to a lot of comments because a lot of people want to talk about this here. So let me pull up some people. I want to say hello to our friend Action Wrestling. Their show just ended Saturday Night Riot on YouTube. I am going to watch it after I'm off the air. I know I have some requests to talk about it, but I'm on this show and I haven't watched the show yet, so it's hard for me to talk about it. But I'm certainly willing Monday night if Mac 10 is here. I know our landlord is here. If Mac 10 is available Monday night, I'm available right after Raw. If him and Kato want to come on down and join the conversation, I am free, so hopefully that'll be an inclination to come on here. But I have a good one here for D Savage. What's your bench, squat, and deadlift?
I have no idea. I
Really? So you don't keep
no,
numbers or track of that now?
no, I have
Okay.
no.
Okay, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty. I want to
Couldn't.
say hello to our buddy, Mr. Jake Matthews. Jake is the best he's the best on the card. He is the Born to Battle briefcase. Oh, you know Jake Matthews?
Yeah, I know
You
Jake.
do? He's coming here next Thursday, by the way. He's here live, 8 o'clock Eastern time. He's here. And as a matter of fact, I'm talking about his own show that took place on Friday, the Riot in the Ring Round 1. As a matter of fact, the main event is going to be here, the main event of their show, Stephen Havoc. Stephen is here 7 o'clock Eastern time to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And maybe Stephen Havoc might be the most hardcore member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Jake Matthews is going to kill me for saying that, but Stephen Havoc is going to be here. As a matter of fact, I have a doubleheader tomorrow. So there's a doubleheader live on Sportswire Radio, and we're going to be kicking that off with Stephen Havoc joining our Hall of Fame. But anything you want to say to Mr. Matthews?
I mean, I'd like to like be in a match with him at one point or at some point. Be
I would.
interesting.
do that.
It'd be very interesting.
I think it
What?
would be very interesting. It would be very interesting.
Yeah, it would be. Just depends.
What would depend?
It depends on which side of me comes out. If me,
ah, ah.
yeah.
Maybe that would happen in Tennessee? He's apparently on Instagram. He posted that he's looking to travel again, and maybe that could take place in Tennessee. I suppose.
Maybe. I guess
So,
we'll find.
well, I guess time will tell, right? Because
Yeah.
eventually we have to find out, right? And hello, Zilla. I want to say hello to another man who wrestles in Tennessee. His name is D'Angelo the Flame, and he's always here on Sportswire. I'm sure you've heard of D'Angelo the Flame, right? I'm sure you heard of him.
Of course.
Anything you'd like to say to D'Angelo? I'm sure he's listening. By the way, poor D'Angelo today. He was out and about, and I guess he was somewhere, and a homeless guy was bothering him for wings, and he wound up giving. Did he give up of his wings and all of his wings? And this guy was like dancing for him or something. Just randomly starts dancing for him. And then I think he wanted like an orange of his or something. Just like a bizarre story. Just like one of the like most weirdest stories. Maybe he was somebody that was a spy or maybe a plant, maybe somebody that wasn't a fan of his. I don't know, but just one of the rather bizarre stories I've heard yet. But I hope D'Angelo eventually got to eat, but maybe eventually you'll get to wrestle him.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to one day. Same with Jake Matthews. Same with. There's a lot of.
I mean, Aaron Blaze is in your promotion. That'd be another good one, right? You and Aaron Blaze.
Yeah, for the second time.
Yep.
I mean, I'd like to go against Delta again just because I think that match could have been a lot better than what it was.
Well, let me ask you a different question. And there's a lot of comments. We'll certainly get some. I'm going to put the UWA links up again shortly. But let me ask you, do you feel like if you had the match now with him versus a year ago, do you think it would be a better match? How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be.
Would it be because you have more experience now?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Do you feel like you've come more into your own in that when you wrestled him the first time, it was more like, okay, like you were a fan of his, you looked up to him, there was that story, but now you're kind of like, a peer of his now. That time it was still the story of like CJ versus Jack Delta, and he's the one that's the traveled guy. You're the one that watched him. You were a fan of his. Now he's here, but now all that pleasantries, they're no longer needed to be exchanged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That may be a fair assessment or such. Or
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it'd be a fair assessment for sure.
I think a lot of people would like to see that match, and we're obviously going to put some of the footage here, and we see you and Mr. Delta, and and was it surreal to see him? A lot of people on this platform over the past year say, "Yeah, I want to wrestle him," but you did wrestle him. You're actually in company that I would say of a lot of places he went, he wrestles people, and you'd probably say, I don't know if I would have wanted to have seen that match. Certainly his most recent trips and two particular pit stops, not where he is currently in ROEW, where he could very well have the greatest backyard underground wrestling match in history with JX, another well-traveled man who he has a lot of history with. CJ Black's another guy that Jack Delta's had some great matches with Jason Storm. But, there's guys that he's wrestled in different promotions that, I don't know if I was really wanting to see that, but you're a guy that, yeah, I would like to have seen CJ and Jack Delta. Some guys come on here and say, yeah, I want to wrestle Jack Delta, but you don't really see it realistic. But I think it's believable that you would wrestle Jack Delta. I mean, just what do you think on all that?
Well, I mean, it was an honor to face Delta, obviously, watching him for so long. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit nervous whenever this match was official, though. Whenever I heard the news that me and Delta was going to face, I was like, oh, great. I'm going to try not to die or make it happen.
Well, I mean, I could understand you were a fan of his. We know the story, but I mean, you're here in the moment. But I can understand, but in some senses, I mean, you stand pretty well on your own 2 feet. Look at what you've done. You've only lost one time in your career.
Yeah.
How about that? Not many guys can say that. You've only lost one time. Maybe you are kind of backyard and underground wrestling's version of Goldberg without even knowing it.
Oh, well, I'll
You
say
can
this.
wrestle a little bit better than him because, obviously, I'm sure you've watched the Who Killed WCW documentary this past week on Vice. And I mean, all Bret Hart kept saying was he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. He can't wrestle. And Goldberg pretty much admitted, yeah, I wrestled a match with Scott Hall and I didn't know what he was doing. So basically, what it sounds like to me is a lot of guys and gals that come on this platform probably know a lot more about what they're doing than Mr. Bill Goldberg did, I suppose.
Yeah, you said that, and I was like, should I take that as an insult or
No,
no?
a compliment. I think a compliment.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I mean,
Definitely a compliment.
he does
Definitely a compliment. Yeah, definitely a compliment. I was
Goldberg does 2 moves, and that's about it.
pretty
So
much, and that's kind of what
yeah,
shot. I mean, we respect what the man has done as a draw, but
yeah,
there's no question that basically you've lost one time. You're comparable to Goldberg in that sense, but in terms of what you would do in the ring, I mean, there's zero comparison because obviously he's basically admitted I don't know what I'm doing out there, which is rather
well,
interesting statement.
well, yeah, I've only lost 1 match, unless your name is Logan Price, and you consider the first ever show we did, I lost because Logan pinned me off of Joe's spear, I believe it was. So yeah,
I'm
he
not going to play that footage, but I'm aware of that footage. But since I want to make sure that we get you back on this platform more often, because there are obviously some people right now upset with this platform and we're in the Hall of Fame, and so they don't want to be in the Hall of Fame anymore. And we would kind of talked about their abilities, which would probably be less than Goldberg's, but I'm not going to go into that at this point because we just want to move on. But the point is that there is still some things to take away from this match. Once you kind of get over some of the different stuff you did, but I
yeah.
still think there's a lot of good things here in this match.
Yeah, I mean, I did, but the only thing that came kind of ran through my mind was Delta's got a very, very big ass nose. Like
Um,
like
I'm not going to admit that on the air because I'm probably going to have him back on Sportswire. Maybe you can get away with that because you're a big man in your own right, but I'm going to certainly plead the fifth on that.
he kind of reminded me of Pinocchio a little bit, but that's just me.
Do you like his new hairstyle, by the way?
Um, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
That's a good idea. This is why you're a champion, a very reputable champion, very representable one. And, that's probably the best answer you could have given. But I still think there's a lot of good stuff here in this match. And, we could see it taking place. And it's on the Underground Wrestling Alliance's YouTube page, which is at Underground Wrestling Alliance. You can also check them out on Instagram, also check them out on Threads. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm watching Jack Delta, who's now the outsider Jack Delta. He's not a destructive one anymore. He's more of an outsider. But he's actually one of the few guys also that in size, he's actually a little taller than you. Usually, I know we spoke about this on prior shows you were in the chat, but he's one of the few guys that also kind of outranks you there in height.
Yeah, he's I think 2 inches taller than me. I'm 6'2". I think he's like 6'4", something like
Yeah,
that.
I think that was something I think you put that in a comment. I think it was either on Chase's show or maybe it was on Jake's. But you were 6'2", I remember you saying.
Yeah, I'm like 6'2". I think he was like 6'4". I know Steele's also taller than me by a little bit as
Yeah,
well.
Steele is deceptively tall. He's 6'4". You wouldn't think about it because of just maybe you see him on Sportswire a lot. But yeah, Steele is 6'4", and there's some guys that you go, oh, I didn't realize they were that tall, and he would definitely fall into that kind of. We have a guy, Big Man Cam, actually, who's the CBW champion, and he's also a part of Jack Delta's current promotion, ROEW, and he's also about 6 foot, maybe 6'5", I think, and he looks like he's 7 foot. This guy looks like he's the new Kevin Nash, and he's like 6'5", but he's like maybe 100 pounds heavier than you. So, I mean, he really looks like a big man, like a super big man. But yeah, it's kind of some guys are deceptively tall, and other guys are just like a lot more taller than you or bigger than you realize. But yeah, that's I
I'm
guess.
gonna
But
I'm gonna go back on this you said earlier about my mask. It's funny that was brought up.
I
Whenever like
wasn't going to bring it up on the air because I was like kind of saying
it's
it's really who you are.
story. Literally, every time we get done filming, I swear to God, I look over at everybody else and just all put my damn mask on for no reason. And I looked at them. I was like, "You guys are a bunch of marks." You know that? Like, Jake's done it. Uh, Blaze has done it once. Mercer's done it a lot. Literally, everybody's done it for I don't know what reason. I just think it's funny.
Well, I mean, they seem to have their reasons. I'll have to ask them that when they come on. But we see here that Mr. Delta thought like he had to finish in the match, but he did not. And we could see here you're reaching for a comeback, and we see Mr. Delta kind of looking. And how about that kick? That was a nice kick. Was that kind of a friendly nod that you're here to stay? Maybe that was sort of the moment here in the match that you figure out, you know what, maybe I can, hang with this guy and beat him.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. Um, that was also just pure out of exhaustion and everything else. I was like, I'm gonna try, but I don't know if I can be able to pull this one out.
I have a question on that because UWA is different than many other places. You guys wrestle, and it's a lot of technical wrestling, a lot of traditional wrestling. You guys certainly have that flavor. Your matches tend to go longer than standard matches. And I'm curious, maybe for some of the wrestlers here and even some of the audience that may not understand that. And even myself, admittedly, I'm not a wrestler, so I don't know that preparation. Do you prepare, you think, differently in terms of a longer match? How do you stay kind of in the match or in the fight, as some would say? Because your matches in UWA, they're not the standard 5, 7, 10 minute. We had Austin G on last Friday, at the time, the ESW Shockwave champion. And I watched one of his matches, and he was basically yelling outside the ring for 4 minutes. And it was really a 6-minute match he had. I'm just curious in your matches, and we see here Delta's basically about to get one of his finishes on you, but he doesn't get the pin. But how do you basically keep yourself in shape for all the different matches you're in UWA?
Oh,
Do you get gassed at all? Do you get tired? I mean, there's
yeah,
fatigue ever
I,
set
I,
in?
def- I definitely get gassed. That's why you've noticed in all my matches, I kind of start out a bit slow
Yep.
for a
Yep.
while. Yeah,
And this one was an example of it. You guys basically kind of bid some time, more or less. You see a little
yeah,
more ring psychology, more or less.
like that's not me being blown up. That's just me trying to conserve my energy for bigger moments in the match. That's gonna happen.
Well, some wrestlers would do that. Ric Flair was famous for that. He would go outside in the ring, he'd walk around. I remember when Bret Hart was a heel a bit, and he was doing it maybe more so in WCW. I remember he would come out and he would work a match, and he would go outside and kind of just walk around and kind of just start to he was probably doing that methodically. And maybe, you're methodical in that same aspect, in the fact that you're trying to prolong and pace yourself to stay within the match and whatever is going to take place.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, my cardio sucks, so that's why I kind of.
Well, that's really great that you admitted that on the air. I appreciate the honesty, but I'm sure champions and other promotions are going to certainly pick on that. And so I'm sure Sammy Slade hearing that is probably going to give him, I'm sure, a lot of ammunition when
Oh,
UWA starts
Slade,
back up here.
I mean, he can do it all he wants, but Slade does the same thing I do. His,
Well, but he's not here though. He's not here though in the chair. You are.
uh, I'm just saying, Slade does the same thing I do. Hell, Jake's done it before as well. Jake, I mean, in our match, I think he was blown up like the first.
Yeah, I watched one of your matches. I want to say, was it several months ago? Your most recent one. You guys were like, I was saying to myself, how did these guys keep going? Jake looked like, he was definitely, going through the motions at times.
Yeah, I remember our match at FD1, though. I think Jake was blown up like the first 15, 20 minutes. And I was
Oh,
like, yeah, I'm all right.
but
I'm not.
see my point though, guys in other places, they don't their championship matches. If they go 15 minutes, it's a big deal. If they go 18 minutes, you're going, wow, but you guys in UWA go 30 minutes, 27 minutes, 29,
Yeah,
32. Can I keep going? I mean, you get the deal.
yeah. I mean, me and Jake went almost an hour at FD1. So definitely had to. Oh, there was one part in the match I remember. I think you might have seen it if you rewatched it. He actually hit me in the nuts.
Yes, I do remember
Yeah,
that.
pretty hard, and I just slung his ass in the ring ropes and
And you
literally.
and you finished him here with the swinging DDT, and
Yeah.
Yep, that
Yeah.
was the end of the match. And
yeah. Delta looked at me at that point. He's like, "That was a good match." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it could have been better, but yeah, I'll take what I can get." I mean, not a lot of people can say they actually faced Jack Delta, and I
well,
can.
that's my point. Listen, you faced him, right? And you faced him, and I think I spoke about this match with Jack. I think that I've had him on 3 times, and I'm almost certain somebody could fact check me on it, but I think I did speak about this match because he's been on Sportswire 3 times. And I think that, it speaks volumes that you spoke to him. I think it's the most viewed single match in UWA history. I think it's the most viewed match, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, so you did have the opportunity to wrestle a guy that everybody that comes on my platform every day says, "Yeah, I want to wrestle Jack Delta." And he gave you an endorsement there. He gave you an endorsement. I think that speaks volumes that he endorsed you as champion, basically, there.
Yeah, and he told me in that moment, he said, "Make this, I think the what was like the best title run in this company or something like that." And I guess I have. I mean, 365 days. So I mean, I think I did a good job on that. What he told me there, and after the match was over.
And you know what? I also think, and I'm going to say it, I want to give credit to the UWA on this one. I really want to give credit to the people in the company. They know who they are. But you know what? Jack went in there and Jack had a good run. Lately, I mean, I'll be honest, I've been critical of some of the stops that Jack has been on. And I was critical about, what he did. And I thought that he should have did more. And I think that you couldn't ask for anything better, you know, what he did having a match with you and, what he did with Jake. And I think that's what it's about. You go in his spot, you go to a place and you work with the best. And that's what you do. You don't go and wrestle some comedic gimmick or guys that were an afterthought. They were tag team partners with Law and you got the win because the guy got the win because he's friends with Law. No, you go in there and you go with the best. And I think that in UWA, you guys did that correctly. And I think that he's obviously, on a great path as ROW champion. He's killing it. You're killing it in UWA. And, that's what I'm about. But let me get to some more comments here. And let me get to some stuff here. They're talking about the Orange situation, which his name, but got some issues. Yeah, 2 wings they stole from him. 2 wings here. That's 2 wings. 2 wings for one laced orange. Laughing my ass off. Yeah, you're not lying. This is an evil world. Yeah, I mean, when people are stealing wings and oranges, I'm not sure why. Hello. I would like to say hello to you, my friend. I believe you're Aaron Blazer's cousin, so I think I know who you are. You mentioned in one of the shows, but good to see you nonetheless. And well, I don't think anybody's virgins here. I'm not going to get into virgins, but just thank you for tuning in. Let's move away from that. Let's move away from that. Shout out to all the boys. Yes, all the long boys. Yes. All the long boys. Okay. Thank you very much for all that stuff. Okay. As we're here with CJ, CJ, of course, is the world heavyweight champion in the UWA. He's a 2-time champion of the world. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. And we have some more UWA coverage coming up here. We've got a number of different guys coming on here. We got Brett Anderson's coming on here. Tristan Taylor's coming on. I'm not going to ask you too much about Tristan Taylor. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to have him Tuesday, but I might have to reschedule to the following Tuesday. So if you're out there, we're going to certainly talk to you more. And a lot of great guys are coming on here in the UWA. And I really want to thank the UWA for their support of Sportswire Radio. They've been a part of the All Wrestling Matters movement, which is basically giving everybody a chance, open collaboration, working with people, showing the things in the community that we are. And I think that that's why we're very excited about the future of the Underground Wrestling Alliance. So let me ask you a couple things here first. Let's go with the obvious things. Champ, what is your goals here for the rest of 2024?
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious, isn't it?
Keep the championship.
Yep, that'd be correct.
You got the top prize.
Yep.
It's pretty simple as that, right? Keep the goals.
Yeah.
Keep the gold.
Pretty much. And I guess attempt or try to find Cerberus, because I don't think Slade would be acting like this if Cerberus was with us still.
Why is Cerberus such an integral factor to this whole situation?
I mean, he's more like, I think, like the bodyguard out of all of us. Like, he doesn't like any drama going on. He wants to keep everything civil, like kind of what Dalton was trying to do. I mean, I just don't think Slade would be acting like this if Cerberus was here. That's for sure. But I got to kick Pogo's ass next time I see him, though, just to get information out of him. because he claims he knows who did it, but he's not telling me yet. So if ET's out there, put me in a match with him just so I can try to find Cerberus to see maybe if that will help Slade, I guess, see the light and come back to where he used to be at.
That's a good question, but I mean, I don't know if it's just we're too far down the rabbit hole. I mean, we'll obviously have to find out. But let me ask you an obvious question, which I think I'm surprised nobody's ever asked you. What does the term faith over fear mean to you? I knew that was coming, right? You knew that was coming. That was a good one.
Yeah. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Somebody was going to ask me
that. Yeah, I had to.
It's just something I live by nowadays. Pretty much like I'm not gonna lie, that triple threat I had a little fear going on, but I had faith in myself to retain obviously this beautiful thing here.
Thank you for showing that, by the way.
Oh
The way
yeah.
I appreciate that you've actually been showing it throughout the. That's very kind of you. If I actually put the screen in vertical, it might actually. No, it's the same way actually. But what a beautiful book. Some people go with vertical angle. You get some. No, it was actually. Thank you for the promotion of that. I'm sure the UWA will really appreciate that. But yeah, I thought faith over fear would be good to ask you because it is kind of a motto in a way. Like it is kind of what you've portrayed as champion so far. You've just been that guy that's just been that glue, almost the glue of the company. And speaking to people that were in the company once upon a time that would like to say hello, you probably heard of the name Cody Flores, and he would like to say hey. And Cody's usually on some of the shows on Sportswire. And anything you want to say? You want to say hello to Cody? You not want to say hello to Cody? You want to say hello to him? Double hello to him? I don't know what you'd like to say, but would you like to say anything to Cody?
You know, I read the live chat during or after my match was over with, and he was like, "Somebody needs to beat CJ. I'm getting tired of this." I'm like, I was like, dude, if you think you can, come try it. You won't be able to. I mean, do you remember what was it? BYCW versus PWF?
Yes. As actually an owner of the PWF, although it's being redone, I've actually watched some of this stuff, and we know that once upon a time there was some history with PWF in the UWA. A lot of history, as a matter of fact, which I won't go into too much. But yeah, Cody was a big part of that, along with Sammy Slade. He was an uprising champion once upon a time.
Yeah, I will say this: if it wasn't, so I went to PWF one day just to kind of meet all of them, like Slade, Flores, Cerberus, Ford, the Vulture, whatever the hell his name was. He's fired now, so I met all of them. I seen a lot of talent in Slade more than the other ones. I think he shined a little bit more than the other ones did. So I've always told Slade, and especially the promo we did before Hell Frozen Over, I said, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here. Since
you spoke about that. Yep, you spoke about that in the promo. Yeah. You spoke about that, in the history and such. Sure.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I've been here since day one with your ass," and I was like, "No, you really haven't been. You weren't here when we first started. You came in when I was gone." Yeah, something I think. I don't know.
Well, you had the time off from the injury. You were out for what, 7 months, right? 7, 8 months was it?
Yeah, being held captive by then the industry. So yeah, that was fun. Don't remember much, and then, well, I mean, I remember getting.
What did you learn from the 7 months that has propelled you back to where you are? What did you take away from that experience? How about that?
Well, besides the fact it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, there have to have been something. I mean, you're back on top, right? I mean, there has to have been something that you take away from it. That, I speak to people all the time from different things that deal with, awkward situations. This was definitely awkward.
Yeah, I remember that day. I remember I told ATK on an Instagram Live I did. There was I think a photo shoot, and I was the first one to arrive. I was eating a slice of pizza. Oh. Somehow, I figure things out. Don't worry about it. And I get jumped. That's all I remember from that.
No.
So I guess
Did you get to finish the pizza at least?
no, I was only halfway done.
That sucks.
Also a stuffed crust pizza, so I kind of feel shit about the fact I
Yeah,
didn't.
I would certainly say, yeah, that would be
Yeah,
good
it
reasoning.
definitely sucked. I didn't even get to finish the pizza, and I guess the takeaway from that: don't be the first one to be at a photo shoot. Be
Oh,
like,
you know what's funny? I used to always take that advice. Remember in school, you get class pictures, and I would
yeah,
always purposely make sure that I would be like one of the last people to take a picture because I would always realize either something weird would happen, or the longer I actually waited to get my class picture or my picture taken individually, the longer I'd have to go back to class.
yeah. I used to do the same thing when I was in school too.
Oh.
Just way to be one of the last, but just that day, I was like, no, I'm just gonna be the first one here, just so I can get this done and then be able to go back home. And then I get ambushed and jumped, and I was like, well, why me in particular? Like, I know I wasn't the most liked backstage, but like,
But you notice a theme though, right? You've been kidnapped, you've had these issues with Slade. I mean, it's a common theme though in certain things. You are noticing that though, no?
yeah, no, I'm starting to notice that. I just don't know what I did to piss off the industry, though. That's my only question. In which, I mean, Flores is in the chat, so
I was going to get to Mr. Flores actually. As a matter of fact, he has a couple of things to say,
oh, here we
and
go. The bullshit. All right, go ahead.
well, you'll have to hear some of it. He says he's coming back with an exclamation point.
That's cool. I never asked. Keep going.
He also said challenge accepted.
That match will last 5 minutes. Okay.
He also says, anyways, good luck, buddy. I'll see you around, will you?
That's a good question. You asked it for me, Tom. Will you?
Yeah, because it's been a while, right? I mean, it's been a while. As a matter of fact, I think Cody first popped on one of my shows like 10 months ago, and I seen him perk up a lot the last maybe month. So will we see him back? I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I'd love to find out. Wouldn't you?
Nah. Nah,
No?
I the guy.
But you basically would mop the floor with him, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he shouldn't waste his time?
Correct.
Mm.
Oh, he actually, it wouldn't be. He's wasting his time. He'd be wasting my time.
Why would he be wasting your time?
I have better shit to do than face Cody Flores.
Hmm.
I have to somehow.
Get the mafia back on track and
Yep.
piece them back together. Yep.
I got a lot of stuff I have to do, so he'd be wasting my time more than wasting his own.
So maybe he should go somewhere else to figure out what his plans are, is what you're telling me.
I mean, he can try, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, he's wasting my time. If ET wants the match to happen, okay, but just letting him know he's wasting my time.
Well, you basically answered really the question overall is that's up to ET to decide who will
Yeah.
you face off with next. It wouldn't be your decision or certainly Cody's decision. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's not your decision and it's not his. And we haven't seen him in a ring in a while. And the larger, grander scale of the question would be: is he's not going to all of a sudden face you?
No.
Wouldn't he have to work his way up to face other people then to get to you? Should be that decision he would like in returning to the ring, and should he do that in the UWA? And I don't know what his plans are. That's completely, a fact. I don't know what his plans are.
Who
That
knows
would
what
be,
his plans are at this point?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's a
I don't
great
know.
question.
That's a question you're going to have to ask him, not me.
There's almost 100 people watching this live right now, and they would probably say the same thing. And who is Cody Flores and when will he come back if they know who he is? And again, those are questions that, I guess we'll have to find out. And if you want to follow the Underground Wrestling Alliance's YouTube page, that is their YouTube page. You can watch all of their previous shows. You can also watch them on Final Destination 3. And you can find out more information with them. It's the same handle on Instagram, also on Threads. And we're here for about another 20 minutes or so with CJ. CJ, of course, is the two-time UWA World Heavyweight Champion. He recently completed his 1 year in the books as the current champion. He's on his way marching to year number 2. We'll see if he keeps it. He's got a lot of things to obviously ponder. He's got things to ponder when it comes to the Midwest Mafia, Sammy Slade. A lot of great stuff ahead, and we'll certainly see what the future is. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, where figuratively and literally all wrestling matters. And also, we'll hear tomorrow 2 times. We're going to be here at 7 o'clock with Stephen Havoc to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And we're also going to be here at 9 o'clock with Big Tex, the big man of. Stay tuned for that and more. But until then, we are here right now with CJ. CJ, there was a video recently posted on the UWA page, the most recent one about It's Time. You have a thought or two on this quick video that we saw, and anything on that before I move on to some other thoughts?
I'll be honest, it's the first time I'm seeing this video. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Well, the world is getting a chance to see it as well, and obviously, are you ready? And I guess maybe we'll be ready soon, right? Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so. Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out. For whatever reason, my mouse isn't working. There we go. Yep. Oh, nope. That's really bad on my part. I need a new mouse. Sorry, everybody. We'll come back to this. We'll fix it. Oh, can you see me now? There, you can see me. Maybe, you know what? Now we're gonna put it right back up on the screen. I have it. I have it right in front of me. There we go.
The best of us sometimes.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, but we got it right here. I actually have the full screen, and no, I don't, but we're going to pull it back up one more time because it's all Wrestling Matters here, and it looks like there we go. So there we have it, unfortunately. Sorry about that, but so I guess we'll have to figure out if we're ready.
Sure. I mean, no, but okay. Or here to be ready, I guess.
Oh, it's time, and Jack Delta had a funny one. Grandpa Tom. If I become a grandpa, that'd be interesting. But yeah, for whatever reason, unfortunately, Jack, I have a mouse that unfortunately my mouse is probably older than probably my mutton chops are at this point. I need to buy a new mouse, and unfortunately, I can't move it the right way. But speaking of which, anything you want to say to Mr. Delta? Well, I could thankfully take this off the screens. And my apologies to the audience and the technical difficulties. Anything you want to say to him personally other than nice hair?
Well, just going to ask a simple question. Just how you doing, old friend?
That was interesting. That was very kind of you. When people go, oh, blah, 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 you were just like, hi. That was very nice.
I got nothing against them.
I think this is like a dialed down sports wire. Some people the last week it's been, I don't know. It's not intention to be dialed down. It's just kind of I think that's maybe we just said so much. We need a break. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you'll get some of that on Monday's show, but well, you're the champion also. We're obviously respecting our champion, acknowledging, and, maybe to quote Atomic Titan, but bowing down to our champion. But it was nice just to say hello, to the champion. And computer. I probably would say it that way, but okay. Let me ask you a different question then. I ask this question to champions all the time, and you kind of answered anyways a favorite match, but I'll give it to you in a different way. You have 1 or 2 moments that stand out most in your career so far.
I'm gonna
Tell me something different other than Jack Delta and Jake at FD1. Tell me, there's only 1 or 2 other things that stand out most.
I'd say winning the Jamboree.
That's a very difficult thing to achieve. Very difficult thing.
Yeah, considering I've told people in the past, or maybe you don't know, my knee wasn't fully healed when I came back. I was running off like 65-70% of my left knee. And that was challenging enough. And then
how was that for you to come back? I was listening to Bret Hart in an interview last night, and he was talking about the first time he got signed to WWF, and he had the same situation. He had a knee injury, and he wasn't supposed to come back. In fact, he was supposed to have waited like 4 months, but because they signed him, he needed the money. He wound up coming back, and for a long time, he never really recovered from the injury. And what was that like for you to return on something where you weren't to who you are?
Nerve-wracking, scared, because I was like, what if my knee messes up again during the match? Like, what can I do? I'm gonna get my ass thrown over the top rope. I mean, I was definitely worried about it. at that time because, like I said, who knows what could have happened? Maybe it would have broke again, or maybe would have broke again. Maybe it would have bruised pretty badly. I mean, I didn't know. And it was funny. When I got there, nobody knew um, about that for like a while. And but some people online was like, "Oh, CJ's coming back in the jamboree. He's gonna win it." Well, I mean, yeah, but I was really trying to push it for a little earlier than that. But they told me no. So I was like, okay. So then Jamboree comes around. They're like, yeah, I mean, can you walk? And I was like, I mean, I can walk. And that's about it. And like, I mean, that's up to you. They told me no, and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I just kind of said, screw you, I'm leaving anyway. So I just walked out of the hospital, and then Jared came and got me, and the rest is history from that.
Did you ever have any like concerns or reserve? I mean, Dalton's injury is well documented in what happened, but you coming back from a knee injury, knee is obviously still something. I played basketball, and it was always, we were always concerned. I remember when I played basketball, I had knee pain. I thought it was really bad. It wasn't, and you're always concerned. Oh, when I get the ball, I go up court or different whatever it is I'm running, maybe something's gonna happen. I'm gonna pop my knee or whatever it is. But like, were you when you came back? Were you ever concerned? Oh, I'm going to get further injured again, or it's I'm a wrestler. This is basically what we kind of go through in order to do what we want to do.
Uh, I was still really concerned about it. I mean, I'm gonna get out of character for a moment. I've had my left knee messed up for years, like since the sixth grade.
Oh wow, okay.
There's a little piece of bone in your kneecap, like it's about like this big. It's chipped out of my knee, and I think it's called like Osgood Schwatter.
Yeah, is it like by the humerus bone or something like that?
Yeah,
One of those weird
Osgood
bone names. Yeah.
Schwatter. I've had that since the sixth grade, and that's why you'll see in my matches I don't go off the top rope.
You're not doing a Sammy Slade.
Dude, you'll
You're
never.
not doing a D'Angelo LaFlame. That I can tell. I've watched you enough to figure that one out.
Yeah, no. There was okay when me and Sullivan had our match at Unleashed last year. There was a point where me and him was like over here, kind of. I jumped off. I stomped on his knee. Got a cookie sheet on it. My knee actually gave out as soon as that happened.
Wow.
I was like, oh shit, what do I do? But I finished it. But the whole time I'm like, yeah, I'm hurting pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't hurt as often. It does feel inflamed a lot during matches like that, and just matches period. But I have
But
to.
how do you, again, we're here with CJ, the UWA World Heavyweight Champion. Underground Wrestling Alliance will be back in action here in the coming days and weeks. Go to the Underground Wrestling Alliance social media pages on Instagram, YouTube, and Threads for more information. But I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, listen, again, I was an athlete, but not at a super high level, but I was a competitor. I played in the street. I've actually been friends with a lot of college basketball players. I've interviewed them. I've done some work in college basketball. So I understand those things. But like, like to compete in a match and have it happen and you're worried about it may happen again, your knee and it's inflamed. Like, what do you do? I mean, like next time you go out there, you may not be worrying about the Midwest Mafia. You might be worrying about your knee.
I pretty much I just deal with it. I
Okay.
That's all I can do. Like I mean, yeah, you can take medicine for it, but the pain's still going to be there either way. Surgery doesn't really wouldn't really matter as much as what I was told when I asked for surgery the first time. But those are Ohio doctors and not always intelligent.
Oh, so there's something about Ohio doctors. I wouldn't know. I mean, that's interesting.
I mean, that's where I'm originally from. Um,
Okay.
yeah, especially where I grew up at, they weren't really all that intelligent. They said, all right, here's some crutches and here's some ibuprofen. Off you go. And I said, oh,
It's funny you say that because I do know people that have had surgeries and they were never the same afterwards. So, I don't know. I don't
uh,
know. So there's no rehab. There's no like exercises you can do that'll eventually, because like for example, people have runner's knee, like a torn meniscus, and it's called runner's knee, and eventually you kind of overcome it, and you're able to be at least close to what you were. It's a common thing in walkers and runners, but from your vantage point, there's nothing that really can do. And you're a young guy still. You're a relatively young man, and to have this, going to be a blight in your, living. And does that ever concern you years down the road?
Well, yeah, it definitely concerns me, but I just take it day by day. That's all I can do, really. There's no rehab for it. There's no exercises I can do. I mean, pretty much all I could do is just lay there and have my leg elevated. And that's about it.
Yeah, they used to say a lot. What you do is you put the knee up, and you either put a pillow on it to give it
Yeah.
support, or give it some type of circulation. That's the line. I hope you feel better. But
Eh,
let me say hello to a couple of people. Mr. Atomic Titan, who is obviously here often on Sportswire Radio. He is also the Hardcore King. He was once upon a time in the UWA, and he is actually the man that owned the PWF, which I own a portion of these days. So I say hello and bow down to my Hardcore King. He says hello to everybody. We say hello as well. And I want to say hello to James Taylor, the Nemesis James Taylor, of course, the legendary Nemesis. Of course, he's the man I also bought the Promo Wrestling Federation. About the irony, I actually bought two companies with the same initials from two different people. It's just the irony of it. One guy owned the PWF. I bought a portion of it. The other guy also owned a PWF, but a different PWF, and I bought the full thing. And maybe there'll be more PWFs out there, and I'll just buy that. Maybe I should just buy everything with the initials PWF, but we'll certainly digress. And James would like to say, though, hello, Tom and Mr. CJ. I respect you, man. Keep doing what you do and protect that back.
I'll try. No, no
Well,
problem.
I would like to see you protect your back as well, because I'd like to be able to see you and have a long career. And we're actually have listeners on the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page, so thank you for that. Okay, so obviously, in the interest of time, let's go over a couple things. I have one loaded question for you, which I want to save for like that's a special one for me. I promise you, nothing bad, but let's go with a couple things. The final words, first of all, for Sammy Slade.
I honestly don't have any.
Wow. No final words for Sammy Slade, huh?
Well, I mean, you've seen. I've tried.
At what call? Yeah, listen. You've tried everything, and he walked off after FT3, and yeah, okay, all right, I'll give you that. At the end of the day, you know, well, that. But you know what? I got one extra question. Actually, I got a I got a loaded question. But it's not even for me, and it's somebody that if he asked the question, I'm going to let him ask that question, because he's kind of like the man that is almost like the new or maybe better improved version of Jack Delta. Jack's going to kill me for this, but D'Angelo the Flame would like to ask you. Now, there's this thing coming up. It's called Summer Bash. It's in actually Ohio, where you grew up, and it's in Bremen, Ohio. It takes place from July 5th to July 7th. It's a 3-day event. It's considered to be the greatest backyard and underground wrestling event upcoming. It's got a slew of stars from a slew of promotions, like places like ROEW, places like XCW, even places like IMF, DKW, which is hosting the event, WCE, Resurrection Wrestling, where D'Angelo LaFlame is, NEW Wrestling, technically, because D'Angelo LaFlame wrestles there, Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. It's got a lot of different places, from even independent wrestlers like Andrew Lovelace is a part of it. You've got OMW, you've got CBW that's a part. I mean, you're pretty much running the gauntlet of promotions. I even hear guys from places like TF Crew and GTS potentially. And I was wondering, do you think that you would be in Ohio July 5th, July 7th? I know maybe the first year hearing, maybe it's not the first year hearing of it, but would you like to attend Summer Bash? Would you think you'll go, or if somebody invited you or wanted you? Because you have to roll, you are, a pretty impressive champion for over 1 year. You've already defeated Jack Delta, Jay Cal. I mean, you've defeated pretty much anybody that's laid in front of you, and you're 6'2", 300 pounds, and, you move like a cat, you sting like a bee, and you'd probably definitely still be a guy that'd be, a limousine riding, jet wheeling, kiss stealing, son of a gun, and certainly would make Kane even envious of that mask. I mean, what do you say on all that?
Before I answer that question, I'm gonna come back to this. I don't weigh 300 pounds. Let me tell you this right now. I weigh 245.
Close enough. I was trying to actually promote you, pump you up, but fair enough. Thank you.
You just called me a fat ass. Anyway,
No, I was just a muscular guy. That's
back to D'Angelo's question.
And I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm not gonna say yes, but I'm not gonna say no.
That's fair.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Maybe. You never know.
Never say never, right? Never say never.
I mean, maybe I will be there. Maybe I won't. You never know.
Maybe the bigger question is if JD Mercer will be invited, because he's a big Cincinnati Reds fan. He could watch a Reds game and then go over to Bremen, Ohio.
No, if Mercer is gonna go, I'm 95% sure he's like, hey, you want to tag along? And
That's why I asked. That's why I would ask. Well, it is interesting because it is a good point. Real quick before I come back to a few final things, is that Summer Bash is the event, and there's a lot of things that get said in the backyard. A lot of people say a lot of things. Oh, there's this, there's drama, and people don't like each other. Guys cause names. But I believe that Summer Bash is actually, with the amount of companies that are a part of it, I think that this is something that's bringing the community together. A lot of people say, oh, well, somebody said this on Sportswire, or somebody said that. But I think that's only a small portion of it. The fact that people came together and accomplished an event like this and had people from all these promotions, all these champions wrestling it, IMF, DKW, WCE, ROEW, Resurrection Wrestling, TBW, NEW with D'Angelo the Flame's involvement, CBW, OMW. I mean, you got some really, really, fantastic companies that are going to be a part of this, and they're going to be in it. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. I even hear independent wrestlers. I even hear GTS possibly from the grapevine. I think that shows that good people can come together and give you what the fans would never have gotten. I think that speaks volumes to the community. Sure, people hear things and say things, and there are bad actors out there, and people might want to say, oh, well, this one said this here and that one said that, but that's only because people were calling out those that really shouldn't be representing the community and representing the talents. And I think that it's only a small portion of that. And I think that Summer Bash is an event that's really going out of the way to uniting people and bringing people from backgrounds that would not have been a part of it. And I think people like D'Angelo the Flame are a huge reason of that. And he would like to also say, maybe it's good enough for me. Hopefully I'll see you there. Never say never. Couldn't agree more. And also, I want to congratulate the guys at Resurrection Wrestling because they just had a show, Saturday Night Riot, before we move on, that actually had a lot of great talents, many of them that have been working in places like AWL and TBW and Independence and Deathmatch and IWA and so many great people. I'm going to get a chance to watch it when we're off the air. I want to talk about it Monday night. I love to talk about it now, but I haven't watched the show, so I'm sure you'll see more coverage for that on Monday's show. And speaking of people, Jack Spade, the icon Jack Spade, of course, from Resurrection Wrestling, and he was definitely a part of the congregation. He was the better half of the congregation, but thank you. I don't think anybody would or everybody would agree with that, but I appreciate the kind words. But we'll have to see. It's a fair enough answer for me. But what do you want to say to the people that have supported you and what they've meant to you in this run here in UWA?
I think the only thing I want to say is thank you. Like I really do appreciate it. Like honestly, like this was me 2 years ago. I would have said, I don't care what you think, go, yourself, all that. But no, I mean, I appreciate it, the support. I mean, that's all I can really say. Just thank you. And just keep supporting me if you want to. I'm not saying you have to, but I mean, I could tell someone to actually go fuck themselves, and they probably would, like I did.
Well, I think that I have been supporting since I've gotten it. Know you guys the past couple of months, and I really do try to give everybody a fair shake here on this platform. And I think that the best way to give a fair shake is to support CJ. And on his Instagram page, that's the only way to get in touch with him. It's UWA_CJ. So if you want to follow him, you want to talk to him, anything you have on your mind, message him, let him know. Also, Underground Wrestling Alliance, they're on YouTube, Threads, and Instagram. And Atomic Titan wants to say, what was the hate for Ronnie Brady? Well, Jack Spade's here in the chat, so I wanted to say he might have been the better half of the congregation, but no, Ronnie's in our Hall of Fame, and Jack is certainly going to be next whenever his next appearance is on Sportswire. But, that actually is my last question for you before I get to close notes. CJ, it's obviously been a lot of fun speaking to you. We've talked about a lot of things. We got to go down memory lane. We talked about the current. We talked about weight. I made mistakes. Certainly, hopefully you don't hold it against me. I'm only kidding. We talked about injuries. We talked about certainly people we've wrestled, want to wrestle. But, since you are a very impressive champion, you've been champion for over 1 year, and you've obviously had a list of accomplishments, and not have a Hall of Fame. If I didn't ask you, and I know you may turn me down after tonight's interview, I would hope not, but considering that we do have this little thing called the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, which to some I think is a pretty big deal. After all, we have people that played in the NCAA Final Four in it. We have actually people that are coaching the United States men's amputee soccer team, the United States men's amputee soccer team. We have maybe the greatest British independent wrestler in history, and Dean Olmark a part of it, and pretty much anybody and everybody in the backyard, in the underground. And some people say we have too many people in it, but I say we have too little people in it. And that's why I ask you, CJ, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, it would be my great honor to ask if you would like to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
After the disrespect, no, I was kidding. Yeah.
I knew I liked you. I knew I liked you because you actually were pretty quick on your feet. Pretty well quicker on your feet than people would have realized. So, yeah, I was glad that, I mean, if Jack Delta's in it, you got to be in it, right? I mean, if, he's in it, why not you?
Sure, yeah.
You beat him.
I did.
So maybe next month we could bring you back after, some more UWA shows. We'll get obviously everything back on the ball for the UWA, and maybe we'll bring you back on sometime next month, and we'll have a little ceremony. I'll have a speech. We'll, talk about maybe if Sammy Slade changed his mind. After all, he might be a Buddy Murphy copycat and lookalike, and maybe we'll have some fun, and you'll figure this whole out with the Midwest Mafia, and you'll be a member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
That sounds good to me. I hope Slade can use his brain to actually think for once, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's a good question. We'll certainly have to find out. But before I move on, this is where you can follow the Underground Wrestling Alliance. You can follow them here, and please support them. They are certainly about all wrestling matters. That's what it's about here on this platform. We want to support those. And again, CJ's resume speaks for itself. An impressive champion. You definitely want to check out all the things that he is doing on the UWA's YouTube page, especially. You can check him out. It'll be there coming up very soon. And we are looking forward to making that happen. Aaron Blaze is supposed to be here also toward the end of the month, early next month, and goes into the Hall of Fame. So got to have some more representation. I couldn't think of some better talents like the likes of CJ, who certainly says faith over fear. And I have some faith that he's going to figure things out, and whether Sammy Slade likes it or not. But my friend, it has been absolute honor. I want to turn it over to you. I want to give you some closing thoughts, and I want to pass the baton to you, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say. It's been an absolute honor, and I want to thank you for all that you've done. You're a true wrestler that goes out there, in the words of Hillbilly Tilly, our only general manager in our Hall of Fame, that puts his blood, sweat, and tears out there to go out there and do it for this sport and for the love, and that's what we're about. And I turn it over to you, and I pass the floor to you.
I mean, I think the only thing that I can think of to say is to apologize to Riley Bates. And here's why. Did you ever watch Tennessee Turmoil by any chance?
Yes, I have seen it. Yes, I have. Yes.
Did you watch mine and his match?
I did. I did watch.
Did you see the way how his leg snapped when I gave him the shapeshifter?
I wasn't going to bring it up on the air, but yeah, I mean, I
did. Either you were, or I was going to say it. So.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. Thank you for confirming.
Yeah.
That question to you.
I feel bad for Riley still, even though he likes to call me the leg snapper, which that's on him for how he sold it, not me. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. For those who for some reason don't know UWA or don't know me, if you want to follow us, you can. I'm not going to force you to. But if you want to come check us out, I mean, we'd appreciate it. We put a lot of hard work into what we do. I know I do. Jake does. Sullivan does. Everybody does.
Absolutely. Mercer, Anderson. Yep. A lot of you guys absolutely go out there and put your blood, sweat, and tears out there. And that's why I wanted to put the YouTube link up there. And let's get them over the finish line. Let's get them to 600 subscribers. Let's get them to 700. Because I always say, when everybody wins, we all win. Together, we will win. And this is a company that's got some fine talents in there. You got some fine people running it, some fine people wrestling in it, and they are definitely a part of All Wrestling Matters. And we're always about collaboration here in this platform. And Jake's worked very hard. Chase has been a big part of things. His wife is even wrestling now. It looks like I'm not even going to ask you on that. And ET's obviously, it means so much to him being a part of this company. And we know about JD and, Aaron's here, the headline. We'll certainly not get into that for another time, but please support our friends over the Underground Wrestling Alliance. Very simple, straight and to the point. That's also their Facebook and Instagram. So we want to make sure that we support everybody else. So CJ is on Instagram at UWA_CJ. So please support them. And it's always about All Wrestling Matters. My friend, congratulations on all of the success. Congratulations on passing 1 year as a world champion. A very, very impressive accomplishment. Very few people do not do this in any sport or anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. We'll certainly see what happens with Sammy Slade. We'll certainly see what happens with you and the rest of the Mafia. And I look forward to watching more new UWA shows ahead. And next time, having you here maybe toward the end of July as one of the newest members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And there's that prize, one of the prettiest prizes, one of the richest prizes in this sport. And everybody competes for it in the UWA. And he's got it. And thank you so much for all that you do. And I can't wait to have you back on soon. And congratulations on all the success so far.
Thank you. And there's one thing I want to say before we get out of here.
Absolutely. Say anything you want. We're live.
I'm gonna put my foot up Jake's ass for writing me out about the big time rush thing that happens before every show. I do that to be funny, and plus I played it around.
I know it came up last time on the show, but I was like, let me not. He's CJ. He's a really big man, and let me not ask him about it because I really realized that I would like this man to be on my side.
Well, I mean, I wasn't gonna get mad if you brought it up. I don't really care. I remember the day I did that. Jake was like, "What is something that we could listen to get us pumped up before every match?" And then my brain immediately went to Big Time Rush for some reason.
Usually you'd hear like Hell's Bells. Usually you'd hear like Welcome to the Jungle. You might want to hear Mama Said Knock You Out. Maybe you might want to hear, I don't know, Enter Sandman or something. But yet you go out there and put Big Time Rush on. I mean, I know you're one of the most dominant and decadent champions in our circuit right now, but that's definitely, I'm sure most people would not have pictured CJ coming out to Big Time Rush.
Well, I'm never gonna come out to Big Time Rush.
Oh, I know that, but I meant in general, like to warm up.
I mean, it could be worse. I could always play Joe Hendry's theme song.
Well, what I thought. Listen, when I covered college basketball, I used to cover a team, and they were very successful here. They would come out to one of the players, like you, a big man. His name is Doug Levy. He wound up playing very briefly overseas, and he's actually a coach, almost like a strength, and conditioning coach over at Northwestern University. And he would play, Eminem's Cinderella Man, which that made a lot of sense. That obviously, made sense. It was Eminem, okay, but. Definitely not in warm-ups, Big Time Rush, but but that's why you're CJ and I'm not.
That's one of the meme. That's like one of the meme songs I play. I mean, I do play other stuff besides that, besides Big Time Rush. I just like to, before we start filming, I like to at least have everybody be in good spirit. That's why I mainly do that.
You know what? And I think that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, we're all just having a good time. We're all just having fun. And I hope that more people would take note of that. And everybody's trying to have a good time. Obviously, do it safely. Obviously, do it in a way that, protects everybody. But at the end of the day, We're all here for that, and the rising tide will always lift all boats. CJ and the rest of the guys in the UWA are that. And yes, and his name, he definitely appears. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, of all wrestling matters. You can check us out anytime. We're on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. So if you haven't yet, hit that sub button for us. If I get 1,000 subscribers, I will get a tattoo, an NEW Underground Wrestling tattoo, and make sure I'm still a little ways to go. So if you want to see me get a tattoo, maybe if I get to more subscribers after that, I'll get more tattoos. Maybe I'll pick UWA, maybe I'll pick TBW, Resurrection. Who knows? The more subs I get, you can decide for me. But until then, if you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming. I'll be here twice tomorrow, 7 o'clock first, Stephen Havoc, 9 o'clock, Big Tex of DBW. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it'll be a new tattoo. That's very clever from Jake Matthews. It'll be a new tattoo. So if I get to 1,000, I will certainly get to a new tattoo, and I hope so. And hopefully it's not the Motley Crue album, which wasn't very good. But yeah, I'm about 280 away. Apparently there was some guy that is now blocking me because he was upset about things that I said that had like a bunch of burner accounts, and I lost like 10 subscribers. So you got to help me make up those subscribers and get me closer to 1,000 subscribers. But definitely, I would love to interview Joe Hendry. I don't know if he'd want to come on to Sportswire. I mean, I do know Dean Allmark, who knows Joe Hendry, but I don't know if I'll bring CJ back. How about I interview you again, D'Angelo Finn? Because I hear from a birdie that you're coming back next week. So how about I just interview you, D'Angelo Finn? Because after all, you're trying out from TNA Impact. You're trying out in NWA. So I don't have to interview Joe Hendry. I could just interview D'Angelo LaFlame because you're going to be in TNA Impact in probably like 3 months. So I'll just interview you instead, and that'll certainly be a fair deal. So we'll certainly see. But until then, thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support. And he will try his best to contact. You don't have to contact him. How about you come back to Sportswire Radio instead? I'll take you instead because you are part of my team, and I believe in you, and I believe in those that are going out there. And he said he's down. There you go. That's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see everyone. Please support